listener production.
Hi, Natarsha Belling with you and welcome to the afternoon edition of The Briefing. Coming up in our deep dive, the new shock Trump tariff that could wipe out our multi-billion-dollar movie industry. We chat with Professor Mark Ryan from the Queensland University of Technology on what the US president's new war on movies made overseas means for us here in Australia and the future of the Hollywood blockbuster. But first, let's check the afternoon headlines this Thursday, the 8th of May. 2 men have been found guilty of murdering 15-year-old Cassius Turvey. The Indigenous school student was brutally bashed with a metal pole ripped from a shopping trolley in Perth's east in 2022. The 15-year-old died in hospital 10 days after he suffered a head injury during the assault. His assault and subsequent death led to vigils and protests across the country. Greens leader Adam Bandt has officially conceded defeat in the seat of Melbourne. Mr Bandt had been hoping to hold on to the seat with a number of votes still to be counted, but has called Labor's candidate Sarah Whitty to congratulate her on the win. Mr Bandt saying there were a number of reasons voters did not support the Greens this election.
My initial take is that some votes leaked away from us to Labor as people saw Labor as the best option to stop Dutton.
Like the Liberal Party, the Greens will now have to find a new leader. And the Mushroom murder trial could be much shorter than 6 weeks. Justice Christopher Beale has informed jurors the case is likely to conclude much earlier than initially expected after speaking with the prosecution and defence. The court also heard from doctors who assessed Erin Patterson after the deadly lunch, with one witness saying Erin was dehydrated because of ongoing diarrhoea and appeared to have a gastric illness. It's alleged by the prosecution that Erin did not eat the same beef Wellington meal as her guests, while her lawyers argue she did become sick but not as seriously as the others. Erin is charged with 3 counts of murder and has pleaded not guilty to all charges. Now it's time to get into our deep dive with Professor Mark Ryan on what Donald Trump's plan to impose a 100% tariff on movies produced in foreign lands means for us here in Australia. The film expert says these new tariffs are a major threat to our multi-billion-dollar film industry and thousands of jobs, and could also be part of a bigger plan to control Hollywood. Mark, thanks so much for joining us. What is going on with these new tariffs from Mr. Trump? What does it mean for movies?
It's really unclear at the moment. The statement lacks detail. So there's a couple of definitional issues. One is he singled out movies, and subsequent statements have focused on Hollywood, which would suggest that he's focusing on Hollywood blockbusters made for cinema, and he's not focusing on television series or film or television series being made for streaming services.
So what kind of impact, Mark, is this going to have for movies across the world? Because here in Australia, we are behind a lot of incredible blockbusters, especially on the Gold Coast. Does that mean those days are over and the millions of dollars it injects into our economy?
It's why so many people are thinking about this, and it's a big deal because it's roughly an average of $800 million a year for both film and TV programs, international programs being made in Australia. So it's big business. We're not sure yet. If the definition is movies, then that's roughly about $470 million of blockbusters filming here in Australia. If it's film and television programs, as I said, that's about $800 million at stake. So if $800 million is at stake, that could be really detrimental to jobs. It could result in huge job losses. And that's a big problem.
So, Mark, in regards to what this means from Mr. Trump, everyone's thinking, why is he doing this? What would be his justification for enforcing these tariffs? Is this to protect jobs in Hollywood and to protect the industry in the States? America first?
It's really hard to know. There is some suggestion of kind of cracking down on Hollywood for them producing propaganda, but then he also relates it to his American first agenda about making things in America. So there's probably 2 factors there. He's had an ongoing beef, for lack of a better word, with Hollywood, people like George Clooney, but also his broader agenda is about making things in America. So he has been lobbied by unions and certain actors to do this. But the issue is that there is now a global system of film and television production. Hollywood movies are being made all around the world, and so are independent films. And it's to lower costs. It's because of relationships, all sorts of things. So Hollywood and the filmmakers are not going to like this decision.
And in regards to the school of thought that this is about propaganda, him, clamping down on independent films and all the different messages in Hollywood, you mentioned there before, he certainly has beef with George Clooney. Could that be part of it, to shut down the certain industry?
Well, the fact that it's included in the statement suggests that's on his mind. And by doing this, it's a shot across the bow. It's very much saying to Hollywood, I'm going to wreak havoc, or I'm going to crack down and potentially tax revenues, or I'm going to disrupt your business model. And already the statement has had that impact. Like, it's had a chilling effect on investment, planning, all sorts of things. So if the intention was to send a message to Hollywood, he's definitely done that.
In regards, Mark, to what this means for consumers, not only is this a huge hit if this is enforced for the movie industry here in Australia and for jobs, but does it mean when we go to the cinemas that we'll end up paying more to see films? What's the flow-on effect here?
You can't apply a tariff to a movie. A tariff is on a physical good, and a movie is an intangible good or a service. So he would have to apply a tax or a levy, and the easiest way to do that would be on revenues from the film, or some type of import duty on the distributor. So both of those things would pass the costs on to consumers 100%. If a distributor is levied for importing a movie, or if cinema tickets are taxed, the distributor is going to be losing profit. It's going to be cutting into their margin. So the way they would deal with that is to raise prices. So presumably ticket prices will go up, but in America. So if Trump is focusing on America, it would impact ticket prices in America. But America is a major market for Hollywood blockbusters. This is where they make a lot of their money. So there could be flow-on effects in terms of them making less movies, less blockbusters. And because Trump didn't mention TV series or film and TV series for streaming services, all the major Hollywood studios have streaming services. So it could be that they make less blockbusters for cinema and just make content for their streaming platforms.
So looking into that, is this the death of the Hollywood big blockbuster?
It's too early to say. Who knows? Because cinema hasn't recovered properly from COVID. Box office attendance, cinema attendance is still really fragile, much lower than pre-COVID. Revenues are down. So another massive blow like this to cinema, it could really impact particularly those bigger films. So who knows what impact that'll have on other types of movies. Maybe that means it opens up cinemas to lower budget filmmaking. Because, during COVID in Australia, Australian movies did better at the box office than ever before because they weren't competing against blockbusters. So who knows how this is going to shake out, but it could impact the amount of blockbusters being made in the future.
Mark, in regards to the experts within the industry, we know the chaos that Mr. Trump's previous tariffs had sparked an international trade war. Did anyone see this coming, to crack down with tariffs on the movie industry?
No. This is a major shock. Like, I have talked to people in the industry right now working on American movies, working on post-production, doing editing. They had no idea. And they're shocked and they're anxious because one person I talked to, they're working on, it's an American movie filmed in Thailand, but the post-production's happening here in Southeast Queensland. And they don't know when this tax or levy is going to come in to play, whether their film will suddenly be unable to finance its post-production, whether it will shut down, whether they'll have future work. So it's created anxiety. It's come out of the blue. No one expected this. And people in Australia are worried because if you were to suddenly lose $800 million worth of production, that's a lot of jobs. The local industry, even though it's growing, is not able to sustain the amount of jobs that there is working on the international production.
At this stage, Mark, the statement, if we read into it, Mr. Trump is saying that this will only be applicable, as you said, for the big blockbuster movies. Is there a chance, though, that this will target the streaming services? Because we saw our US Ambassador Kevin Rudd say, this is a tax on Bluey, which is a great headline, right? Because if that happens to Bluey, that's really serious. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of jobs. Could this also then leak into the streaming services and affect amazing series like Bluey?
It's a critical question because Netflix, these big streamers, they make their series and movies overseas as well. So if you're serious about bringing jobs back to America, you can't just look at Hollywood blockbusters. In terms of Bluey, I'm hoping that that's local enough that won't get caught up in this, because as far as I understand, Ludo, which is a Brisbane-based company, a lot of that is a domestic production. I'm not quite sure where they're getting their finance from. And again, Trump's not saying he's going to cut down on international financing. It's more about international production. So I think Bluey might be okay. I think Kevin Rudd was very clever in kind of bringing Bluey into the picture because, it creates like a national outrage. But I think Bluey will probably be okay. But yeah, I mean, Netflix, they're doing exactly the same thing. Everybody's doing this. It's not just Hollywood.
So in regards to affecting everyone's bottom line, it's a huge hit for the creative industry. Do you think it's strategic doing this by Mr. Trump, considering his politics?
I think it's strategic against Hollywood. I'm not sure how strategic it is for all the other sectors. Because the other point is, even smaller movies these days, independent movies, some of them are being made overseas. It's kind of, there's efficiencies to be gained by working in locations overseas or using locations and crews overseas. So even smaller filmmakers might get caught up in this inadvertently, and that would really limit creativity. It would completely upend a flow of film and television production film production in particular, coming from the US. So it could have a massive hit to creativity in the short term.
Do you think there's a chance Mr. Trump may buck down on this? Because there are many very, very wealthy, powerful people within this industry that will take a massive hit. And as you've mentioned, these will be thousands, possibly tens of thousands of jobs across the world gone.
I think it's definitely something that we should not write off, because if the message is partly political or a warning to Hollywood, he's probably already kind of made his point. The other thing to note is that to actually kind of enforce this type of tax or levy would be extremely difficult. It'd be extremely onerous, complex, and costly. So I think there is a possibility that he may walk away or walk it back slightly, but we just don't know at the moment. It's too early to tell.
We will watch with great interest. We appreciate your insight today. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks so much, Natasha.
That was Professor Mark Ryan from Queensland's University of Technology. And that's it for this episode of the afternoon edition of The Briefing. We'd love you to subscribe or follow us so you don't miss our episodes or our deep dive of the day. You can also follow us on our socials, on Instagram at The Briefing Podcast. And we'll be back in your feed tomorrow at 6 a.m. I'm Natarsha Belling. Thanks for your company.